joined by Erik Lueth. Erik is RBS Senior Regional Economist. Well, let's talk about where we are. I mean, we knew the second half was going to be slower than the first half, and hey, it is going to be. So, you know, did we just forget about it?
No, I think, as you say, growth will slow. It will also slow in Korea, and I think it needs to slow because in the second quarter the economy grew by about 6% annualized, and that's way above the potential growth rate. So I think the economy needs to slow from here. Otherwise, we will see inflationary pressures building.
Yeah. So stimulus is withdrawn. This is what we're going to get essentially.
Yes.
So this is exactly the case of what one commentator said to me was taking away heroin from the heroin addict.
Yes. I mean, Korea already is withdrawing massively, more than other countries this year, to the tune of about 1.5% of GDP. They're reducing their fiscal deficit, and they have started since last meeting now also to withdraw monetary stimulus. I think they will probably continue. I think today, if not today, definitely next month.
They will be
they will lifting interest rates further.
Yeah, where to? I mean, how much do they do it by?
So I expect 25 basis points today. If not today, maybe next month. I see the BOK raise the rates to about 3% by the first quarter of next year.
Very strongly divided, though, the commentators we've been talking to. I mean, 50-50 on this. Why are you so definite?
I think the BOK wants to send a very strong signal that it's about to normalize monetary policy. And there have been precedents of this in the past. Just 3 years back, the BOK raised interest rates in 2 consecutive months. And there was much more uncertainty at that time than there is today.
Right. What are the dangers looking ahead? I mean, with the US economy slowing down, even the Chinese, albeit by a small amount, still growing at about 10%. You know, what's the impact here on the export side, etc.?
First of all, one risk factor at home is high household debt. Households actually are more highly indebted in Korea than they were in the US at the outset of the subprime crisis. But this is something that is there, and you cannot postpone it. They have to raise rates. That is one domestic risk. Now, globally, I see personally Asia as being much more stronger than many people. I think it is much more than just a high beta play on the mature markets. Asia really has been the consumer of last resort, both over the last 3 years, but also over the last 3 quarters.
But is Asia by itself enough to lift the world economy out of, well, perhaps falling into another recession?
We looked at that. We looked at the absolute amount of consumption in Asia and compared that to the US. And we find that Asia basically has to grow about 2.5 times as much as the US. And if you look at between 2000 and 2008, actually, Asia grew by 3 times the American amount. So its consumption is having a greater impact on the world than US consumption. That is something to keep in mind, I think.
But Europe?
Europe, I am sure we are going to see a slowdown. So definitely, I mean, the weak points are US, Europe, China is slowing, but also emerging markets more broadly, Brazil, Russia, they are growing very strongly. And why is it that emerging markets are growing so strongly? One reason is per capita incomes are still very low. And the other good thing that is really there is that fundamentals are very strong. So there is a lot to go for Asia and for emerging markets.
All right, we had a guest on, just had a quick soundbite from him saying that things are going to get worse in the US and talking about an era of stagflation. Do you think it's going to get as bad as that, or do you think this gentleman's over-egging it?
Yeah, we personally, we don't believe in a double dip. We don't believe in a global double dip. We actually looked at some of the indicators which are particularly good at predicting such things. We found that the US PMI is actually extremely powerful, and at 55.5, it's really very far away from
danger is if it falls below 50, isn't that the truth?
Yeah,
Erik?
yeah.
Erik, thank you so much for joining us. Erik Lueth, he's from RBS, just taking us through some of the prospects for not just the global economy, but looking at South Korea as well. Interest rate decision due from the Bank of Korea any moment now, looking actually for an increase, if Erik is correct there, saying that there's going to be a rate rise either this month or next.